Myself, Dr. Leelam Nishal, already sir has given a brief introduction about me. So today's my topic is on utilization of carbon dioxide for fuel generation, problems and prospects. The title, if you see, we will mainly focus on. So there are again various kind of capturing technologies for the carbon dioxide. But if you see in the India and worldwide, how we are utilizing the carbon dioxide, okay, how we are converting into the fuel. If you are converting into the fuel, what kind of problems, what kind of challenges are there? How will you tackle those challenges? That we will discuss mainly in this today's lecture. Okay. The outline of my presentation is introduction about the utilization of carbon dioxide. So how the carbon dioxide emissions are there in India as well as in the world, and how the India energy consumption will be there, and as well as the global energy consumption, how it is related to your population, world population, and at the same time how it is the consequences of carbon dioxide emissions. Then we will discuss the CO2 capture technologies, what are the recent capture technologies, industrially existing technologies, okay, and then we will discuss about the CO2 utilization pathways. Then we'll go to the brief introduction about the physical and chemical properties of carbon dioxide, approaches for the carbon dioxide. Then there are so many reduction technologies are there, out of which we will mainly concentrate on the electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide. So why we have chosen that, and what kind of challenges are there, okay, that we will discuss, and what is the current industry scenario, why still the carbon dioxide reduction process, why it is not commercialized, and what kind of problems they are facing by the current scientific community. That we will discuss mainly in this presentation. Okay. So if you see the interaction, in the interaction, see the carbon dioxide, the concentration is increasing here. But what is the electricity consumption right now? If you see in the previous, from 1985 to 1995, almost if you see 19,072 gigawatt hour per year. So I have tabulated the formulation, I have collected the data from the EIE. So if you see the 10 years from the 1995 to 2005, how it is increased, almost 2 to 3 times it has been increased the electricity consumption, and at the same time the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide, if you see in the atmosphere, the carbon dioxide concentration, it is also increasing. It is almost 2.17 ppm per year. But currently, if you see the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, presently it is almost it's crossed 409 ppm around. But what is the maximum permissible limit? The maximum permissible limit of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 350 ppm. So already we have crossed the maximum permissible limit, right? So almost if you see it is 2.17 ppm per year. It is increasing from the 2005, and still it is going on. So how it is, if you see, there is again depletion of fossil fuels. What is the current energy source in India, and as the consequences, the carbon dioxide concentration, how it is increasing in the atmosphere? What is the recurring impact for this? Due to the concentration of carbon dioxide increasing in the atmosphere, due to that, the global temperature rise is increasing, right? As the carbon dioxide emissions are rising, the CO2 capture and utilization technologies have been necessary to reduce the pollution and mitigate the global warming. Okay, that is what the current scientific community has been looking out to reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide. What kind of technologies are available, and what is the advanced technologies? What is currently the research is going on? What is the R&D department? What they are doing in India, especially, right? So, what is the impact? There is a temperature rise due to that acid rains, right? What is exactly needed now? What is the remedy? How will you utilize the carbon dioxide? What is the remedy now? We need to use the renewable energy sources to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. Since currently carbon dioxide concentration is increasing in the atmosphere. At the same time, what is mainly the energy source in India? That is what your fossil fuel sources. If you see in the IPCC report, current Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, It is in the 2005 report, the special report on the carbon dioxide. What they exactly said, by 2100, all the fossil fuel sources will be phased out. So we need to have some alternative energy sources. The government is making efforts to increase the investments on the renewable energy sources because there is a depletion of the fossil fuels. And almost 85% of the energy sources in India is from the fossil fuel sources, isn't it? So due to that reason, if you combust the fossil fuels, what we are getting the carbon dioxide. Again, due to that reason, we have increasing the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. So we need to see the alternative energy sources as well as we need to reduce the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So what is the current sources of energy sources in India? The India electricity production by source, if you see, the fossil fuel sources, other renewable sources, hydro, nuclear. The India is among the five largest producers of electricity in the world. If you see the national electricity grid in India has an installed capacity of 388 gigawatts as of 31st August 2021. The national electric grid in India has an installed capacity of almost 388 gigawatts as of 31st August 2021. If you see the renewable power plants, which also include large hydroelectric plants, if you see the large hydroelectric plants, which almost constitute 37% of the industrial installed capacity. So total India's installed capacity, out of that 37% is the hydroelectric plants. India has, you can say, the surplus power generation capacity also, but there is there is a lacks due to the adequate transmission and distribution infrastructure. Okay, and if you see in the coal, especially if you see the fossil fuels in the coal during the last, if you see the last year 2018 to 19 and 19 to 20, almost it is three quarters, three by fourth of the electricity is from the coal only. Yeah. So they are making efforts to increase the investments in the renewable energy. So if you see, coming to the part of renewable energy, how in the renewable electricity production by the source, if you see the hydroelectricity, it is almost increased. See, if you see from the last 2000, can say from the 2002 or 4, drastically it is increased. It is increased drastically. See how the wind energy, solar energy, biomass energy, and hydro energy, how the capacity, how they are increased in India. Why? Because the fossil fuel sources are depleting, and we need to choose some alternative energy sources. Okay, in the India, they are concentrating mainly on the hydro. We have the wind, solar, biomass. We'll see the installed capacity also. You see the cumulative installed power capacity. The renewables make up over 35% of the India's total installed capacity, with solar accounting for 8.7%. Among renewables, solar accounts for the 25% of the installed capacity. We see here coal it is 53%, gas, nuclear, lignite, diesel. You see the renewable energy, there is the large hydro plants, small hydropower, wind power, biomass. This all contributes to the India's energy consumption. So if you have the energy consumption in the India especially, okay, then if you see the year to year, it is increasing. The renewable energy, they are making efforts to increase in the investments in the renewable energy, right? If you see the world population and energy demand growth, see if you see the world population here from 1900 to 2100, almost from the 2000, almost if you see it is 5 billions, almost it is increased to almost 8 to 10 billions here. The world population is increasing due to the anthropogenic emissions, the carbon dioxide emissions also increasing, the world energy consumption is also increasing. If you see this line, the orange line, if you see here, almost from 2000, it is almost drastically it is increasing. It going to increase in the future, 2050, 2100, almost how much is the energy consumption is required. So if here the energy consumption is required, the population is increasing, obviously the carbon dioxide concentration is also increasing if you use the fossil fuel sources continuously, right? So we need to go for the alternative energy sources so that we can reduce the carbon dioxide emissions over there. So what kind of pathways are there? That is also very important. What kind of utilization, how we utilize the carbon dioxide emissions? Okay, what kind of sources are there? If you see the annual carbon dioxide sources and sinks, it is around Earth's atmosphere in the gigatons. Around atmosphere, it is total carbon dioxide emissions. Okay, it is CO2 is 3,150 gigatons. The net atmospheric growth per year is 18 gigatons of carbon dioxide. 18 gigatons of carbon dioxide. From industry, it is 20 gigatons. Building, constructions, transport, agricultural, land use. How much it is contributing to the annual carbon dioxide sources? Means that if you see the current estimates to achieve a 2 in 3 chance of limiting global temperature increase, means we need to, suppose if you want to decrease the temperature by the 2 degrees by the 2100, let's say in the year 2100, the emissions of the carbon dioxide must be decreased to less than 5 gigatons per CO2 per year. Present emissions is, you can say, 48 gigatons per year. Okay, 48 gigatons of CO2 per year. You see the present emissions. But if you want to reduce the emissions, our target has to be by 2250, it has to be less than 5 gigatons per CO2 per year. To decrease the global temperature rise, it should be below the 2 degrees centigrade by the 2000. That is what the target for the by the 2050 by according to the EA reports. Okay. So what is if you see the integrated flow diagram of the CO2 capture technologies, okay, the CO2 capture alone, you can say that it represents a significant and costly endeavor for the industry. Okay, there is again you can say is that there is again the main application of the CO2 capture is likely to be at large point sources. Suppose we have the fossil fuel power plants, fuel processing plants, other industrial plants, particularly for the manufacture of, you can say, iron, steel, cement, and bulk and chemicals. Okay, the main application of the CO2 capture is to be likely to be at large point sources. Like we have this, I said, like fossil fuel power plants, fuel processing plants. Okay, particularly you can say the manufacture of iron making, steel, cement, bulk chemicals. Okay, there are various CO2 capture, which is directly from the small sources or mobile sources in the transportation, residential and commercial building sectors, right? And if you see the CO2 has been captured from the industrial process. Okay, streams for 80 years before onward, we have the industrial captured process already existed. Okay, there is can say the current examples in the industry, the CO2 capture from process streams, which are the purification of the natural gas and the production of, can say, the hydrogen containing synthesis gas like CO plus H2, right? For the manufacture of, can say, the ammonia, alcohols, synthetic liquid fuels. Okay, these most of the techniques which is employed for the CO2 capture, right? I think you might know this CO2 capture techniques. Okay, there is, you know that post combustion. I don't want to waste much time here, so I will just tell you what is briefly what is the post combustion capture, pre combustion, what is oxy fuel combustion, chemical looping CO2 capture. So in the post combustion capture, the capture of the carbon dioxide from flue gases, which is produced by the combustion of fossil fuels, and biomass in air, which is referred to as post combustion capture. Capture of CO2 from the flue gases, which is produced by the combustion of fossil fuels. And biomass, which is in air, is referred to as post combustion capture. So instead of being discharged directly to the atmosphere, flue gas, which is passed through the equipment, which separates the most of the carbon dioxide. Okay, this carbon dioxide is fed to the storage reservoir, or you can say the remaining of the flue gas, which is discharged to the atmosphere. That is what can have a storage reservoir, or can remain in the flue gas, which is discharged to the atmosphere. Okay, what is you can say the pre-combustion capture. The pre-combustion capture, which involves reacting a fuel with oxygen or air, and you can say steam. Okay, to give mainly what is that synthesis gas, okay, or you can say the fuel gas, which is composed of the carbon monoxide and hydrogen, CO plus H2. The carbon monoxide is reacted with steam in a catalytic reactor. What is in the pre-combustion capture? The fuel gas, which is composed of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. The carbon monoxide, which is reacted with the steam in a catalytic reactor, which is called a shift converter, to give the carbon dioxide and more hydrogen. Okay, the carbon dioxide is then separated. Usually, you can say the physical or chemical absorption process, right? Resulting in a hydrogen-rich fuel, which can be used in many applications such as boilers, furnaces, gas turbines, engines, and fuel cells. Okay, generally the pre-combustion capture involves reacting a fuel with oxygen or air, I can say, and you can say steam to give mainly a synthesis gas. The carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, which is in the synthesis gas, is reacted with the steam, okay, which is the catalytic converter, that is called shift converter, to give carbon dioxide and hydrogen. That is called, we get the carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Now the carbon dioxide is separated. We can use it by the absorption techniques or membrane separation techniques. Okay. Then the resulting, we get the hydrogen-rich fuel, which can be used in many applications. That is, you can use the boilers, furnaces, gas turbines. Okay. What is mean by oxy-fuel combustion? The name itself is there, oxy-fuel combustion. It means that the oxy-fuel combustion, we can use the nearly pure oxygen, which is used for combustion instead of air. Instead of air, we'll use a pure oxygen. We'll use the pure oxygen combustion instead of air, which is resulting in a fuel gas. That is mainly we'll get the carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide and water. If the fuel is burned in pure oxygen, the flame temperature is excessively high. But if you see the carbon dioxide and water-rich fuel gas, it can be recycled. It can be recycled to combusted to moderate. So oxygen, which is usually produced by the low temperature air separation, and you can say the novel techniques you can use to supply the oxygen to the fuel, such as you can see the membranes and some chemical looping cycles are also being developed. The power plant systems of reference for the oxy-fuel combustion capture systems, you can say these are all for the post-combustion capture systems. Okay. And what is the contribution of the different sources of energy production? What is the contribution of different sources of energy production? But if you see, I will tell you one more important point here. If you see the CO2 capture technologies, okay, these are, if you see the post-combustion capture, if you see the low pressure carbon dioxide is, okay, what is there? Low pressure carbon dioxide, it is absorbed into the liquid absorbent solution, or you can say the solid absorbents. What is the absorbent solution generally commonly used in the industry? That is what? Amine solutions. That is monoethanol amine solutions. Okay, that is what I want to mainly tell you the industrially and what exactly the project is doing. See, in the industry, there is a monoethanol amine solution is there, which is used as absorbent solutions. Okay, and they are using the carbon dioxide, they are absorbed in the monoethanol amine solution, then they are capturing this. Okay, now you can say the CO2 capture efficiency is almost 90 to 100%. The same concept, what we are doing in our project, we know that amines are very good soluble to the carbon dioxide. That is what we well known by the industrially commercial techniques. But there is some problems with the scaling purpose in the capturing this post-combustion CO2 capture. Okay, in the liquid absorption, always there is a disadvantage. That we will discuss. What is a liquid electrolyte? What is the disadvantage over there? But what we are doing in our project, we are preparing some kind of polymer matrix. Okay, in that we are functionalizing with the amines, so that the reaction zone can be tuned such a way that the carbon dioxide will be absorbed on the surface of this electrolyte. So we are using solid polymer matrix instead of liquid absorbers. Okay, we are developing a solid polymer matrix. In that, we are functionalizing with the amines. There are various loadings of amines we have tested. Various different kind of amines we have tested. So there we are, because what our aim is to that, the carbon dioxide always, if you have some first there is a reaction to occur the reaction. First it has to be absorbed, then there is a reaction, then the products will form, then again the products will be dissolved over there. So our aim is to develop such a kind of polymer matrix, such a way that the amines will be incorporated in the polymer matrix. Okay, then the carbon dioxide will be absorbed on the polymer matrix. Then we want to reduce the carbon dioxide. With that idea, we have developed the few kind of membranes. Then we got the project on this that idea, and we successfully done that also. Okay, and if you see in the same, if you see the post-combustion CO2 capture is almost 90 to 100% of the capture efficiency, whereas in the pre-combustion carbon dioxide capture, CO2 is captured from the syngas streams, like CO2 is H2 stream, using the liquid absorbents or some pressurized membranes. Okay, the syngas stream consists of, you can say, 16% to 40% of the carbon dioxide at higher pressures, around 13 to 40 atmospheric pressure. This pre-combustion capture is generally supplied to the integrated gasification combined cycle power plants. Okay, but in the oxy-fuel combustion process, the oxygen is used to combust the fuel, which produces only carbon dioxide is 75 to 80%. Okay, water it is always it is exhaust. Okay, due to high purity of carbon dioxide, it can be separated from steam by the distillation, or can say that in the chemical looping based CO2 capture, the oxygen required for combustion is transported from the combustion air to the fuel through some oxygen carrier, which is most often an oxidized metal. Okay, so it is, you can say, the oxygen carrier is moved between the two fluidics by reactor, one for air, one for fuel. So basically, what I want to say here, there is a CO2 capture technology which is there in the industry. But what we observed from there, that is, we are using some liquid absorbents to capture the CO2 over there. But we have developed some solid polymer matrix. In that, we have incorporated the carbon dioxide, the amine functionalized membranes, such a way that CO2 can be captured over there. Easily, we can separate, and we can get the we separate the products. Okay, there is few advantages that we will discuss it later. Okay, see the the contribution of the different sources for the energy production. Okay, in this, especially if you see in this. The contribution towards the energy production from the 2010, 20, 30, and 40, 2050. Okay, almost the renewables, the percentage increasing, and we have the nuclear, renewables, nuclear, and this the data we get from the EIA. And what is the CO2 utilization pathways? It's very important, the CO2 utilization pathways. There are various 10 CO2 utilization pathways, and we'll see also removal pathways also. First one, you can say from the clockwise, we'll see the chemicals from carbon dioxide, fuels from the carbon dioxide, the products from the microalgae, concrete building materials, CO2 enhanced oil recovery, bioenergy with the carbon capture and storage, enhanced weathering, forestry techniques, soil carbon sequestration, biochar, and the chemicals. Biochar, and what is the first is the chemicals. Okay, the capture and the use of CO2 to create the valuable products, it might lower the net cost of reducing CO2 emissions or removing the CO2 from the atmosphere. Okay, the CO2 utilization increasing interest from the scientific community. What is mainly that it is due to the climate change, and CO2 as usually as a feedstock. Okay, why is the CO2 utilization? It is increasing interest from nowadays because it is due to the climate change, which is drastically, and we have the carbon dioxide we are using as a feedstock. Okay, according to the IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, There is a special report on the CO2 capture and storage in the 2005. Okay, the term the CO2 utilization, what exactly it refers, it uses the carbon dioxide at concentration above the atmospheric levels, or you can say it directly, or you can use it as a feedstock, okay, in the industrial or chemical process to produce valuable carbon containing products. What exactly they say? The CO2 utilization, what it refers that they use directly or indirectly use the carbon dioxide at some particular concentration levels. Okay, they use in the industrial or some chemical process. What we want to produce it to the some valuable added products. Okay, some valuable added products. Okay, the amount of the carbon dioxide utilized by any pathway. You see, these are the 10 pathways we have here. Okay, it is not necessarily the same as you can say the amount of carbon dioxide which is removed or stored. Okay, right? Because the carbon dioxide capture and storage, it can contribute either to mitigate the carbon dioxide or to removal of the atmospheric concentration. To mitigate the carbon dioxide means that, this is an example, we reduce the emissions from the gas-fired power plants, or you can say that by direct air carbon capture and storage. Either you directly, suppose we have some in the power plants are there, gas-fired power plants, you directly take the carbon dioxide from there, from free gases, reduce the emissions from there. Okay, or you can directly by the direct air carbon capture and storage. Okay, so this is the carbon capture and storage. The flow, you can say that here, when you're talking about the chemicals from carbon dioxide first, okay, it may be the catalytic chemical conversion of the carbon dioxide from the flue gas, or you can say the from conversion of the chemicals into the CO2 into the products. That is what valuable added products. Okay, what is the utilization product here? That is, can derive the CO2 derived the platform chemical. Suppose you want to develop urea. Okay, urea. Okay, it means that carbon dioxide is simply you are incorporating. We are not converting into that. We are simply incorporating the carbon dioxide and we are just putting into some matrix over there. It means without any chemical reactions. That is what in the chemicals directly from the carbon dioxide. Without any chemical reaction. What is about the fuels from carbon dioxide? The fuels from carbon dioxide is like it is a chemical, right? That is catalytic hydrogenation process to convert the carbon dioxide uh, from the flue gas or some other sources into the fuels. Now it's coming to the picture from like electrochemical, okay, or photochemical, biochemical. There are so many kind of chemical reduction technologies are there. That is also we'll discuss right now. Okay, it means that some CO2 derived fuels such as you can say methane, some Fischer-Tropsch derived fuels, that is from the products from the microalgae. Means that we are uptaking of the CO2 from the atmosphere, okay, and we are converting with some products using some bacteria, that is microalgae biomass, okay, and the concrete building materials. It means that mineralization of carbon dioxide from the flue gas, mineralization of carbon dioxide from the flue gas or other sources into the industrial waste materials. Okay, it means that CO2 curing of concrete. That is what the and then enhanced oil recovery. Simple, the enhanced oil recovery means we are injecting the carbon dioxide from the flue gas or other sources into some oil reservoirs. That is what enhanced oil recovery. Okay, there is a bioenergy with the carbon capture and storage, means the growth of plant biomass, land based. Okay, growth of plant biomass. Then enhanced weathering means that there is a mineralization of atmospheric carbon dioxide considered by application of pulverized silicate rock to consider the grassland, some forest. Okay. Again, the forestry techniques is the growth of woody biomass. You can say that we know the afforestation, reforestation, some sustainable forestry management. That is what the forestry technique means. The standing biomass, some wood products that is coming under the forestry techniques. Okay. Then the soil carbon sequestration. It increases in soil organic carbon content via various land management practices. Okay. Biochar is the growth of plant biomass for pyrolysis and application of char to the soils. Okay. It means that the agricultural area, or you can say bioenergy crop biomass, this is good. What is the overview of these opportunities for the carbon dioxide relation? Just to what we have discussed the same time. Okay. It means here you see the direct utilization and indirect utilization. I want to mention here one point here. There's a can say direct air capture or post combustion capture of the carbon dioxide, direct utilization and indirect utilization. Okay. What is the direct utilization? It means that if you see here enhanced oil recovery, steel slag carbonation, red mud utilization, concrete curing, it means that it is there is no as it is, CO2 as it is we are using without chemical conversion to other products. Without chemical conversion to the other product, that is what direct utilization means. The widespread direct uses of carbon dioxide include you can use the food, beverages, fire extinguishers, concrete building materials, some seafood enhanced oil recovery. This is what direct utilization. What is meant by indirect utilization? It uses CO2 as a feedstock, okay, in creating more complex final products. Some chemicals were okay. What is this indirect utilization techniques? Which primarily include conversion of carbon dioxide to the useful chemicals. There is any again electrochemical, thermochemical conversions, photochemical, biochemical. So especially we will mainly concentrate on the electrochemical. Why it is important? What is the significance of that? That will also we will discuss. Okay. Now we will come to the point CO2 utilization and removal cycle. CO2 utilization and removal cycle. So you see here there is a carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, direct air capture and land-based capture. Direct air capture, land air capture, land-based capture. Okay, so it means we have uh, from the direct air capture to concentrate the carbon dioxide. Again, we are transformed. Okay, you see the step L here. Okay, it is the products from the carbon dioxide. We are converting the carbon dioxide into some carbon products. Okay, it could leverage the industrial capture of the flue gases. Can have the some following. Can have the extraction and combustion of the fossil fuels. Okay, the flow of carbon dioxide through different utilization. Flow of carbon dioxide through different utilization pathways. It can be represented by the combination of different steps. You can say these are the removal. That's what we are removing, right? Carbon. We are removing the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere through direct air capture or land-based capture. Okay. Now where you are storing like after the this we are directly storing in the lithosphere or in the hydrosphere and biosphere. Okay. The permanence you can say that depends which is upon where the carbon is ending up. Okay. Suppose if you see in the lithosphere, it means that by the geological sequestration into the reservoirs such as saline aquifers, depleted oils, okay, and gas reservoirs, or by mineralization into some rocks. Okay. Whereas the biosphere, it is in the trees, soils, okay, in the human-built environment. The hydrosphere, which is with the storage and deep oceans. Okay. CO, this carbon dioxide need to be resourced from the atmosphere, potentially via the direct air capture or through the land-based uptake by the photosynthesis or mineralization. Okay, so if you see, this is what there is a open pathway, cyclic pathways. Once we have the direct air capture, we can get the carbon dioxide, concentrate the carbon dioxide, you can convert into some products, or again the product may be some industrially captured. Okay, once you combust this again, whatever suppose we are getting methanol, we use the direct methanol fuel cell again. From there again we get the carbon dioxide as the emission. Again we are getting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Okay, or again you can store it as in some renewable energy form. Okay, or in the like some human environment. Okay, this is what in the closed or open parts. How we are utilizing the carbon dioxide, how we are removing. And if you go into the physical and chemical properties of the carbon dioxide, physical and chemical properties of the carbon dioxide is a very stable molecule. It is a non-polar molecule and linear in structure. And the bond length is around 1.16 angstroms, and the ionization energy of 13.73 electron volts. Okay. If you see the reactivity of the carbon dioxide, which is attributed to the combined effect of presence of pi electron density of the double bonds, lone pairs of the oxygen atoms, electrophilic nature of the carbon atom. Okay, but if you see the impact of the carbon dioxide on the pH of water, why I'm saying this, in everywhere, even the industrial process, also what they are doing, they are just simply carbon dioxide. They are taking some electrolytes. So simply they are carbon dioxide. We are solubilizing some electrolytes, right? It means that there is some impact of the pH, being the solubility pattern of the carbon dioxide. Okay, the dissolution of carbon dioxide in the water, which involves, you can say in the water means you can take the seawater, or you can say saline in some geological formulations. Okay, what it involves? It involves some number of reactions. You see the number of reactions here. Okay, between the gaseous and the dissolved carbon dioxide, carbonic acid, bicarbonates, and carbonates. Okay, the addition of carbon dioxide into the water, initially what it leads to increase in the amount of dissolved CO2. This is what, see, this is CO2 gas and CO2 aqueous. The addition of carbon dioxide into the water, initially it leads to an increase in the amount of dissolved carbon dioxide, and this dissolved carbon dioxide reacts with the water to form the carbonic acid, and the carbonic acid, it will dissociate to form the bicarbonates and these protons. Okay, again it further dissociates and form the carbonate ions. Okay, the net effect, if you see the net effect of dissolving the anthropogenic carbon dioxide in the water, it is the removal of carbon dioxide, that is carbonate ions, and the production of bicarbonate ions. That's what it is lowering the pH. Why it is lowering the pH? If you take the potassium bicarbonate, let's say, okay, if you take the potassium bicarbonate and you continue, if you take the carbon dioxide, okay, and you continuously purge the carbon dioxide gas into your potassium bicarbonate. Let's take potassium bicarbonate, or sodium bicarbonate, sodium hydroxide, or potassium hydroxide. Okay, in that you just you just purge the carbon dioxide gas into your electrolyte system. Okay, you see the, if you make the different kind of electrolytes, the different concentration of electrolytes, then see you can easily measure in the laboratory also. Just see that way how the pH of your carbon dioxide is varies. Okay, obviously we will have the pH will be lower. Okay, but if you see, we, for the reactions, the bicarbonate formation is very important in intermediates to form some products. Okay, that's why if you see in the papers, or you see um, the literature, where if you see the carbon dioxide they use to do the process, carbon dioxide reduction process, to convert the fuel, they used to do it around 7 to 9 pH, 7 to 9 pH they used to do to get the to get the higher products, conversion of the product, fuels from the carbon dioxide. Okay, but I just want to mention what is the health and safety aspects of the exposure to CO2. Because at the normal condition, if you see, the atmospheric concentration of CO2 is almost around 0.037%. This is it. I even seen few students in the class just ask you, what is the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They said that, I don't know, sir, but still you need to know what is the, how will you calculate the concentration of the carbon dioxide atmosphere. What is the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? So it is around 0.037% only. It is non-toxic amount. Okay. If you see the most people, okay, with some normal cardiovascular or some okay, the pulmonary, respiratory, and neurological functions, which is normal neurological functions, everything, he or she can tolerate exposure of up to zero point 0.5 to 1.5% CO2 for almost, you can say, 1 to several hours without any harm, 1 to several hours, almost you can say that up to several hours, it is 0.5 to 1.5 percentage of carbon dioxide. Okay, beyond that, you obviously will know that the different zones are there, what will happen. I just shown here. Okay, just again show you that here what is the current industrial use, what is the reduction, how there is a commercial use, and how the disposal of carbon dioxide. Okay, the raw material which is in the chemical process, the resources in the technological process. Okay, the current industrial use, if you see the urea or some organic carbonates, salicylic acid, polymers, organic intermediates. If you see the CO2 reduction process, which is richer in the energy produced, this is what I want to concentrate on this. Okay, there is some resource in the technological process, like know that where things enhanced. That's what we have discussed right now. There is a different approaches for the carbon dioxide reduction. There is again we have for the whole reduction technologies I'm showing here. It is electrochemical, chemical reduction by the metals, thermochemical, photochemical, radiochemical, biochemical, photoelectrochemical, bioelectrochemical, biophotoelectrochemical. There are different approaches for the carbon dioxide reduction. But if you see, there is we are mainly concentrate on the electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide. Okay, but why it is important, the electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide? Okay, why it is important, that we will see now. Okay, what is the main concept of this? Okay, I hope it is clear, right? Anyone listening? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's clear,
Clear,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. Clear,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. So this is what the electrochemical reactor. What is mainly the concept? The carbon dioxide we are sending to the cathode side of the electrochemical reactor. Water we are sending at the anode side of the electrochemical reactor. Okay, but we know that carbon dioxide, it's a very stable molecule. It's a very stable molecule. Okay, it is a linear in nature. It is a linear in nature. The carbon dioxide, once it's very stable, so we need to supply some energy to bend that structure, linear to bend structure. Okay, so that we can reduce the carbon dioxide easily. So here, to supply the energy, we can get from the some DC source, or we can use the renewable energy sources. Okay, can use the renewable energy sources, and we can do that the process at the atmospheric temperature and pressure. Okay, I will show you the principle also. But the concept is we are reducing the carbon dioxide using the water. See, if you see some feature crops or previous industrially commercialized process, they use the hydrogen, some air or oxygen. Okay, some steam reforming process. There we are reducing the methane or some other hydrocarbons at very higher temperatures. Okay, but here we are using the room temperature and pressures. We have developed our laboratory electrochemical reactor, and we are doing the we are in the laboratory scale only. What is the advantage of this process? You can generate the fuels like methane, ethylene, or methanol, or some. It is I just shown in C2 only. We can go up to C6, C12 also. Okay, we can generate the fuel. At the same time, we are generating the fuel. It means that carbon dioxide reducing. It means that we are depleting the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, and we are using the renewable energy to reduce the carbon dioxide. It means that the renewable energy we are storing in the as in the chemical form. Okay, we'll get the high yield and selectivity, low cost, can operate at room temperature and pressure, we can scale up, we can do the compact design. Okay, what is the main challenges here? What are the main challenges here? Okay, here challenges is to suppress the hydrogen evolution. I will discuss one by one point here, because it is very important to know the challenges. What is the problems we are mainly facing over here? Okay, so when I'm using the water here, whenever I'm using the water, first when applying the potential here, what is happening? Water will dissociate and we get the protons and electrons. The protons will pass through the membrane. It means that H plus ions also will be competitive to the carbon dioxide. It means that CO2 will take the H plus and electrons, and H plus also will take the electrons, will form the hydrogen. So now there is a competitive reactions. Okay, carbon dioxide also will reduce to the products, as well as H plus protons also will take the electrons, form the hydrogen. It requires only zero potential, zero volts. So we have to make such a kind of catalyst, okay, or electrolyte, such a way that only it will enhances the carbon dioxide reduction rather than the hydrogen evolution. So we need to suppress the hydrogen evolution and the reduce the war potential for the reactions. What is meant by the war potential? It means that suppose there is a potential is required to get, suppose I will show you here. Okay, suppose my potential is required from CO2 H2 plus 2 electron formic acid. It requires only minus 0.61 moles. Okay, so if you give, it means that it is thermodynamically this much potential is required for. But there is a losses in your reaction. Why? Because there is a losses due to the electron flow through the external circuit or ion flow through the membrane, okay, or electrolyte solution, collection of the electrons at the electrode due to all this kind of reaction, or as well as activation of your reactant material at the electrode surface. All this account into the picture, and we need extra potential we need to supply. Suppose it required, suppose 1 volt, we need to supply maybe 1.2 volts. Higher potential we have to give. That is the extra potential what we are giving. That we need to reduce the war potential for the reactions. It means we are giving the extra potential, means we are giving the extra energy for the occur the reaction. Okay, as well as to reduce the mass transfer limitation. But how will we reduce the mass transfer limitation? It means that we are sending the carbon dioxide to the cathode surface. It means that there is electrode, carbon dioxide is flowing through the electrode surface. It means that the diffusion of your reactant onto the electrode surface, right? So there should not be any mass transfer limitation. If you have the plenty of availability of the carbon dioxide, once it has to be absorbed, diffusion through the electrode, okay, and it has to be on the electrode surface. Once, not only that, again, once the product has been formed, the product has to be diffused back, right? So it has to be reduce the mass transfer limitation to get the higher efficiency, and they carry effective CO2 gas phase electrolyte. Why it is a main challenge? Because if you use the carbon dioxide direct, I'm using direct gases phase. But if you see the industrially, what they're doing, they are stabilizing some electrolytes. Okay, they're using some monoethanolamine solutions or some bicarbonate solutions. First, they're using aqueous carbon dioxide, not the gaseous carbon dioxide. What happens once you use the liquid electrolytes, the carbon dioxide which is solubilizing into that, if you're reducing, some products need forming, but we have to separate the products again. Why? Because the products which is there on in your electrolytes, again the separation cost will be there. But here, if you use the direct gases phase, maybe the solubility is low, but if you're using directly gases phase, maybe you're getting efficiency is low, but you're getting there is no separation cost for your products. Okay, and increase the current efficiency towards the electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide, analyze and separate the products form. Okay, see, why I'm saying this, because when you are doing the carbon dioxide, you're getting the products. We are saying that methane is formed, methanol is formed, but how we know that what kind of product is formed? How will you know that? We have to identify using some sophisticated technique, like using gas chromatograph, okay, some other sophisticated like HPLC, or some other kind of some titration techniques. You can use it to analyze it and quantify your products, how much we are getting. Based on that, again, we have to calculate the therapeutic efficiency and energy efficiency also. So how to overcome these kind of challenges? So we need to develop an electrochemical reactor, and we have to develop a suitable electrocatalyst and development of suitable electrolyte. So mainly we are concentrating on the catalyst as well as the electrolyte. Okay. So how much energy is required to reduce the carbon dioxide? This is also very, very important, because if you see the potential for reduction of carbon dioxide, if you see the carbon CO2, if you have some electrons, you're getting some from renewable energy sources, you're getting that electron from the anode. Okay, the dissociation of the water molecule, you're getting the electrons, we're getting CO2, addition of the electrons, getting CO2 minus. But it requires higher, it is highly unfavorable, it is getting minus 1.9 volts. But if you see the proton-assisted electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide is favorable because if you see CO2 express two electrons getting the minus 0.61 volts. If you see the protons, 2s plus 2 electrons with carbon monoxide, methanol, and methane. Okay, so we have the different kind of potential. So I have calculated what is the electrical charge as well as what is the electric energy it is required per mole of CO2. So for these products, okay. So if you want to produce a methane, okay, it's almost required 800 kilojoules of energy is required per mole of carbon dioxide. Okay, so these are for different kind of products. Also, we have calculated based on the Gibbs free energy calculations. Okay, delta is equal to minus NFE. From these calculations, we have calculated and formulated this data. Okay, why it is significant electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide? Because we are using carbon dioxide, it is from the flue gases or any from the atmosphere, or that you can take from any kind of power plants or some industries. Okay, and we are using water as a waste water we can take. Okay, and we have the renewable energy sources. We're not using any kind of energy from the fossil fuels. We're taking the renewable energy sources like solar energy you can take or wind energy you can take. These combined will get the fuels. Okay, so why we are using the water? We are using it can be used as a proton source. We can use the renewable energy sources. We can generate the value-added products. But mainly the electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide mainly depends on the cathode material, what kind of electrodes we are using, what kind of experimental parameters, pH, temperature, pressure, etc. Okay, and the electrolyte obviously what we are mainly concentrating on. Okay, I will just show you the animated what is exactly what kind of reactions are occurring. Okay, oh, it's a PDF, so it is not coming here. It's animated. Okay, no problem. I will just tell you. See the carbon dioxide. Okay, the C is the orange, and the O or the blue here. The carbon dioxide will come here. Okay, the cathode side of the electrochemical reactor, where carbon dioxide fed at the cathode side of the electrochemical reactor, and water we are sending at the bottom, at the anode side of the electrochemical reactor. They are supplying the energy. Okay, water will dissociate, H2O will dissociate into oxygen, protons and electrons. Oxygen, protons and electrons. The protons will pass through the membrane, electrons collected by the electrodes, and it will pass through the external circuit and it will reach from the anode to the cathode. At the cathode electrode surface, the carbon dioxide will react with the protons and electrons. We will get the different kind of products. Okay, it depends on what is the kinetics at this process, what kind of electrodes are there. Okay, based different electrodes. Suppose if you use the lead and tin, we get the formic acid. If you use some copper or copper based alloys, if you use the hydrocarbons like methane or ethylene, you will get. So depending on the different catalysts, okay, based on the absorption characteristics, you get the you see the mechanism of how the carbon dioxide which is absorbed on the surface. This carbon dioxide will reduce into the methane or CO. I've shown you the reactions also over here. Okay, CO2 will be the protons and electrons will be the methane as well as the carbon monoxide. But the competitive reaction, that's why I've given the red in the line. The protons also will be there and the electrons will come from the external circuit. The electrons has a very good chance to react with the protons because it requires only 0 volts. Okay, so protons will react with the electrons will form the hydrogen. Even though even though hydrogen is a valuable product, but our aim, even you can do simply water electrolysis also. Okay, you get the hydrogen. But here at the same time we are sending the carbon dioxide, right? We are getting the hydrogen as a valuable product only, as a byproduct. Okay, but our aim is to get the fuel based. We want to concentrate. We want to get the product which is methane or ethylene or methanol. That kind of fuels we want apart from the hydrogen. Okay, we want to concentrate on the selective formation of particular products like hydrocarbons compared to hydrogen. That is a major challenge in the competitive reaction. We need to suppress the hydrogen and to improve the hydrocarbons over here. Okay, so this is our gas. This is the membrane. These are the gas diffusion electrodes to The function of this is to facilitate the carbon dioxide on the electrode surface. There is a pose over there. I will show you what kind of electrodes we have taken. We will show the sum of the pictures also, morphological pictures. At that time, it will be very clear. Okay. What is thermodynamics of the electron? I've shown you differently also. See, I've just shown you the cationic electrolyte, that is only protons are passing through that. Carbon dioxide with the proton, we get the different kind of products. If you see here, see this is what there is again. If you see the research nowadays, they are developing not only the cationic exchange membranes, there is the anion exchange membranes also. So apart from the H plus ions, there is a Bosch-Mans ions groups also there. Okay, there is a cation exchange membranes, anion exchange membranes are there. Protons as well as hydroxyl ion. Okay, based on that, you can say the different kind of reaction. I will show you that reaction also with the comparison thermodynamics also. I will show you right now. Okay, these are off-cell reactions I have shown here. Okay, the cathode reactions generally I have shown here. Okay, the another off-cell reaction is this one. That is water is giving the oxygen. Okay, another off-cell reactions depending on the different kind of products. So here, if we observe here, methane we're getting the point minus 0.24 volts. It is depending on the reference electrode is the normal hydrogen electrode we have taken. Okay, if you say the silver electrode as a reference electrode, we have the different kind of potentials, standard electrode potential we have. So at different products we have the different electrode potentials. Okay, so these are easily can calculated from using the Kipps calculations. Okay, I just shown you here for a better understanding what is a cationic and anionic electrode. Okay, I have calculated the thermodynamic efficiency also, how it is coming, why it is coming this much. So we'll discuss that. So this is a cationic electrolyte with the anionic electrolyte. So I'm just giving you the basics of what kind of reactions are there. Then we'll go into the main topic on the development of the membranes. Okay, but if you see here the electrochemical reactions, we at the cathode side, if we have the protonic, that is what electrolytes, we have the cationic electrolytes, we have the reaction like CO2, 8H plus 8 electrons, methane and water. It is a potential plus 0.17, and the overall reaction will be same for the cationic and anionic. If you see CO2 and water will get the methane and oxygen only. Okay, but how it is we are getting. Okay, if you see the water is dissociated into the protons and electrons, but the hydroxyl ions here, because it is the protons will passes through here, in the anionic electrolytes, the hydroxyl ions will passes through. Hydroxyl ions will dissociate, will get the water and oxygen here, same with the oxygen, and it is a minus 1.23 here, it's minus 0.6 and minus 0.4. The combined with these two, the overall reaction will be minus 1.06. The overall standard electrode potential for this overall reaction is minus 1.06. So how many electrons are required? It is very important. Suppose if it is ethylene, 12 electrons is required to get for 1 mole of carbon dioxide to get 1 mole of ethylene. Here it is methane, to get from conversion of 1 mole of carbon dioxide to 1 mole of methane required 8 electrons and 8 protons. Okay, the number of electrons required is 8. The cell potential is this. The electrical energy that is calculated from the delta G energy, the kilojoules per mole, 8.9 kilojoules per mole. The higher rating values, okay, 890. What is the thermodynamic efficiency? 109%. The thermodynamic surplus, it means extra energy, how much it is to convert somebody is 9%. Okay, so E naught is a standard potential required for the methane formation, and the high rating value is the what we are taken. This is methane we are generating, right? We are getting the fuel as methane. What is the sorry? What is the high rating value of the methane? That is what 890. So the thermodynamic efficiency we are getting the 109%. But you see, this is what we are getting the thermodynamically we are getting. But if you see the reality, but we don't get exactly at minus 1.06. If you see overall potential is required around 2 to 3 volts is required. That's what I'm saying. That if you develop such a kind of electrocatalyst or electrochemical system, such a way that to reduce the bore potential for the reaction, obviously the your thermodynamic efficiency will be at a very good range. Okay, that is also we discuss the how your efficiency will change. That is the Faraday efficiency or energy efficiency. Okay, the energy efficiency is also the same thing. Whatever the energy we are generating from the fuel, but what is the energy we are supplying to that the electrochemical system, plus how much we are getting over potential, the standard. E naught by E naught plus neta, that is your over potential, that is what your energy efficiency is. Okay, so I'm just here giving you the comparison purpose. If you use it because most people right now they're using anionic mode because the the main competitive reaction is hydrogen, right? When the hydrogen will form, there is a H space and electrons will be protons and electrons will be there, hydrogen will be there. The suppressing, that is the competitive reaction. So the most of the right now the recent papers we see the carbon dioxide reduction using the anionic electrolyte is more significant, and the papers right now they are getting very their vast contribution to the anionic electrolyte due to the main reason is the hydrogen separation almost it is less than 2 to 5% where completely they are doing the hydrogen, they're getting the selective formation of the products. Okay, how the reaction mechanism is. The possible pathways of the CO2 coordination with the metals. Okay, so carbon dioxide CO2 minus the how see this is C and double bond O. Okay, see some the carbon may be dropped to the surface or CO or O may be absorbed on the surface. So in the linear and the bend structure, how the CO2 is coordination with the metals. Okay, suppose if we are taking the copper as a metal, let's say it's for the copper. Okay, so if you have the copper, how they are taking the copper as an electrode on this carbon dioxide has been absorbed. So how it will be? First, the carbon dioxide, and obviously it will be in the bend structure by taking the electrons will form the CO2 minus, and from there we take the protons we have from the formates, then we get formic acid. The intermediate again we get the CO. The protons will get the CHO or COH, CH3O. Okay, again we form the CH2O or CH2, CH3O. So based on that we get the CH methane or methanol. It is thermodynamically it is favored or it is kinetically it is favored reaction. So it is one at the expense of this. So sometimes if you have some kind of electrode, some cuprous oxide, some oxide-based derived um, metals or some alloys, where what has happened, you're getting the C2 also, C2 base like ethane, ethylene, that is also formed at the expense of methane. Okay, it means that there is a coupling reaction also occurred. C double bond is there. Sigma bond with the C. There is CC coupling reactions also occur. That is also observed by the various authors. That is also favored by the reactions. Okay. So what kind of catalyst for the electrolytic reduction of carbon dioxide? There is a homogeneous catalyst are there, heterogeneous catalyst are there. Okay, homogeneous systems. Okay, then the reactant system and the catalyst which are the same phase, and the heterogeneous it means that easily available for the reaction. The homogeneous, whereas the heterogeneous we have the different kind of metals, metal oxides are there. So typically we get the CO, formic acid, methane, ethylene, methanol. So if you see the pathways, there we have divided the electrodes. Suppose it is a group one: lead, mercury, indium, tin, cadmium, titanium, titanium. Group two it is a gold, silver, zinc, palladium, gallium. Group three is a copper. If you see for this, sorry, the carbon dioxide which is absorbed to the these kind of metals. Okay, so it is first linear to bend structure. Okay, then if it is a weak interaction, if it is a non-aqueous and aqueous media. So what exactly is non-aqueous and aqueous media? It means that suppose we are using directly without any water. Suppose aqueous means we have the zero point 0.5 molar potassium bicarbonate, zero point 0.5 molar sodium hydroxide, sodium sulfate solutions we are using. Means that is the aqueous medium. Means that water is a solvent we are using. But in the non-aqueous, it means directly we are using benzene as a solvent. Okay, there is no water at all. There is a non-aqueous media. In that, we're getting the oxalate. Okay, in the aqueous media, we're getting the formic acid, and in the non-aqueous media, we're getting the CO. Okay, separation is also very easy in the non-aqueous media, but still there is some disadvantage with that because if you have a solvents are there, if it is solubilized in solvent, you have to choose such a solvent, but it should not be any expensive solvents, non-aqueous media. Even in the aqueous media, there is the advantage for this that can use the solubility maybe we are getting good, but what happens the separation of this the product which is solubilized in the system we have to separate separation cost also increased. When you have a stronger interaction in the aqueous and non-aqueous media, so what it is we're getting the we have the COOH, okay, and again we have the COO and CO minus. Okay, again the intermediate carbon monoxide, it is again getting the copper, again CO is reduced to the hydrocarbons like methane, ethylene, or some methanol, okay, or some formic acid we're getting from using the copper. Mainly the hydrocarbons we're getting on the copper. There are so many, if you see there is a separate review also on the electrochemical reaction of carbon dioxide on the copper electrode itself. Because the copper is giving the hydrocarbons, especially the selective formation of hydrocarbon, with a very good Faradic efficiency. They are developed the copper nanocatalyst, copper based alloys, copper derived catalyst. Okay, there is a nanocatalyst. If you see the number of edges and corner side which is increased, which alters the surface binding energies. Okay, and it also enhances may enhance the hydrogen evolution reaction. Okay, some but if you see some gold nanoparticles, maybe you are getting the carbon monoxide is 97 percentage. Okay, some other copper nanoparticles maybe show higher Faradic efficiency for the carbon monoxide, and the hydrogen which is 70%, which is compared to the copper, and the for the higher Faradic efficiency for the hydrocarbons. The Faradic efficiency is nothing but the current efficiency. It is how much we are supplying, what kind of product we are getting. So it is number of moles of products, okay, we are generating, okay, to the how much we are supplying to that system. Okay, suppose I'm supplying this many coulombs to the system, how much product we are getting. So energy we are generating that from that product. That is what we're getting, how we calculate the Faradic efficiency. Okay, and this we can get the different kind of nanocatalyst. There so many kind of studies they have done in the catalyst. They have also done. They have different kind of literature on the bimetallic and metallic oxides. But if you see in the uh, bimetallics, also they're getting a very good efficiency of 90% of the formic acid. And the stability studies also have done. Shows a very prominent. And the metal oxides also shown very good for the formic acid and as well as CO. And the catalyst support is also very important because we need to disperse the catalyst. Suppose we are using some expensive catalyst, we have to disperse the catalyst on some supports. Okay, to get the more number of active sites. That we know that. So like we are using graphene. Suppose we are using 0.58% of the graphene. Okay, we use the functionalized graphenes on some catalyst supports. Okay, it may improve the some electrocatalytic properties, activation and binding energy also will be improved. Okay, it will why they're using that because it may lowers the more potential requirement and enhances the selectivity also. Okay, so coming to this part, it is the reactor design. So this is the reactor which I have developed during my PhD. Right now also for my project again I have developed different kind of reactors. So this is during my PhD I have developed this kind of reactor. So this is what bipolar plate. This is monopolar plate. You can say that these are the channels and these are the ribs. Okay, at one side you can get the carbon dioxide. This is what the same thing here. Okay, to flow the carbon dioxide to the electrochemical reactor. So there is we have developed the membrane electrode assembly, which is sandwiched. The membrane is sandwiched between two electrodes, and we are putting in between these two plates. Okay, so at one side we are sending the carbon dioxide, one side we are sending the water, and we are supplying the energy. to get the products. And we have studied that also. We have first time we have reported the continuous gas phase reaction, and we got the products like methane and ethanol, especially in the formic acid oxygen trace quantities. Okay, so in few other papers they have developed PEM electrolyzers, also proton exchange membrane electrolyzers. Okay, it's also same thing. They have developed the membranes and some kind of electrodes. They have developed some transition metal working electrodes. They have tested over there. Okay, carbon dioxide we're sending at the fluid through these kind of fluid channels. Okay, the anode side they are using platinum, and the cathode side they are using transition metal. So here it is a fixed bed kind of reactor. So what exactly they have done? So this is the glass plate. Okay. So at the cathode they are using tin or lead. So some kind of electrolyte solution, especially they have used the K2CO3 and potassium bicarbonate solution they have used. So this electrolyte they are using it means they are using aqueous carbon dioxide. They are not using the carbon dioxide gas. So aqueous carbon dioxide means the carbon dioxide they are purging into the electrolyte. Then they have applied the energy, and they got the formic acid with a 80 to 90% of the efficiency. And few also they have studied, like Whipple et al. They have studied the microfluidic reactors. Also, they got some patent over there on the microfluidic reactors. They got especially the formic acid with the higher efficiency. They got using the microfluidic reactor. Right? They have the micro channels. Okay, they use the gas diffusion electrodes. They said that using these gas diffusion electrodes, they got almost they reduced the mass transfer limitation of the carbon dioxide. Okay, the PEM electrolyzer they use the step cells, some continuous gas phase reactor for the gas phase reactor. You see the microfluid reactor, better control over the electrode surface. That's what I said. And the fixed bed, we have the in this bed fixed bed means we have the it is mainly for to provide the higher surface area and longer contact between the reactor. Okay, there are so many kind of reactor designs are there. Still, they are developing reactors and electrode configurations and electrolyte configurations to get higher efficiency to convert the carbon dioxide into the fuels, especially. Okay, and the operating conditions are the effect of electrolytes and the hydrocarbon formation, which is enhances with increase in the cationic side. Because what I'm saying that here we are using all I have shown that these are liquid electrolytes here. Okay, I'm using the solid electrolyte. Here we are using the solid electrolytes. Okay, here it is liquid electrolytes. So there is advantage for the liquid electrolyte, but the separation cost uh, is added to that. Okay, but here if you use the electrolytes like lithium, sodium, potassium bicarbonates. Okay, so the hydrocarbon formation enhances with the increasing the cationic size. Okay, the sulfate adds suppress the if there is some impurities in your electrolyte solution, it will suppress that and it will enhances the hydrogen evolution reaction. Okay, and as well as not only that, some people that are using some high temperature electrolyzer cells also they are developed to reduce the carbon dioxide into the um, products. Okay. So if you see the present electrochemical reduction of carbon dioxide in the industrial scenario, okay, so this is what if you see here, this is a pilot plant scale. So it is a Norwegian company, the TNV GN. Okay, he has developed Ecoform, it is from EC form setup. He said that this process is to convert the carbon dioxide. If you see, it is there is a link also there. If you see in the YouTube also it is there. It is clear. It is there. They have shown you the process also demonstration of that. The site also it is been given. Just go through that YouTube link also. Okay, just type the DNVGL demonstration process for the EC form. Okay, for the pilot plant scale. Okay, they convert the carbon dioxide into the formic acid and formate salts directly. They are directly converting the carbon dioxide into formate and formate salts. What exactly they are using? They are using a proprietary tin-based catalyst, tin-based alloy catalyst as a cathodes to convert the carbon dioxide into the formates. Okay, the reactor has a lower required cell potential, and the losses, the resistive losses, also very less. Due to that reason, one is lower cell potential, and the losses also, resistance losses also low, resulting that they're getting the higher energy efficiency also. Okay, they are using the solar energy to convert the carbon dioxide into formats. Okay, and this is a economically feasible operation. And the electrodes, they are using the tin-based alloy catalyst. They're getting the selectivity. Selectivity means selected to the particular formation of format. It is around 75% of the format they're getting, and the lifetime of the electrodes they're getting. They are reported that it is 1 to 2 years. Okay, so this process can run on the renewable electricity using solar panels. Okay, if you see the reactor, they have shown that is 600 centimeter square area, and the capacity almost it is around 1 kg of carbon dioxide per day they can reduce. By using this reactor, they can reduce the 1 kg of carbon dioxide per day. It means that from 1 ton of carbon dioxide they use 1.04 ton of formic acid they are producing. 1 ton of carbon dioxide, from that they are producing 1.04 tons of formic acid using the tin based alloys. So already is there, it is in the small scale. So to get the larger scale, still there is some advanced technology required. The R&D department are still they are looking for large scale production. It is not just a small scale pilot plant. It is under the pilot plant. Okay. There is again some Siemens AG Germany. Also, they are using the CO2 reaction using the regenerative energies and catalytic technologies. This is almost it is a fuel cell kind of reactors. Okay, so there is also they have developed the membranes to reduce the carbon dioxide into the, especially using the hydrocarbons. Okay, and the Mantra Energy also they are setting up a pilot plant, Lafayette cement plant to convert the carbon dioxide into the formic acid. See, if you see the global market size, if you see the formic acid, carbon monoxide, formates, methane, and ethylene, so this is the value dollars per ton. Okay, and the market size. Okay, this is the value. If you see the red color is the value. Okay, almost it is $1,200 per ton of formic acid. Okay, what is the market size of in the tons? It is almost 1,000. Okay, so what is the global market is around $720 million. So I have collected the information for this also for that. So the global market for these products is also very high, especially for formic acid. So that's why the people soon are there commercialized to convert the carbon dioxide into carbon dioxide as well as methanol also. There's a methanol economy. It is from the George Olav. He's a Nobel laureate. He has published several papers on the CO2 methanol economy. They are given some integrated solutions that the carbon dioxide from the conversion of carbon dioxide to methanol. That methanol they are using in the fuel cell, the direct methanol fuel cell, and from the direct methanol fuels again the carbon dioxide will generate. That carbon dioxide again they are converting into the methanol. So this is like a cyclic. The CO2 methanol economy integrated process they have developed. They have developed a patent. They have filed a patent on that also. They published several papers on the CO2 methanol economy. Okay. So this is what up to now the present challenges. What is the current scenario of the electrochemical reaction with carbon dioxide? We have discussed the mainly this principles and this, and the next class the current tomorrow's class will discuss the mainly on the what kind of polymers are they. Okay, what is the different kind of polymer electrolytes for the reduction of carbon dioxide fuels, what we have developed, that exactly we will show in the tomorrow's class, tomorrow's lecture. Okay.